Hey, I'm Clay Shirky. I am the Vice Provost for Artificial Intelligence and Technology in Education at New York University. This spring, I wrote a piece for the Chronicle of Higher Education about artificial intelligence and student learning. And I got an invitation from Antonio Rodriguez to address you all. So I want to say a little bit more about that subject, and I will see you on the 11th to talk to you about the issues involved. So, students and ChatGPT. For students, ChatGPT can have a positive effect on learning, helping them reason through problems and providing context on a remarkably broad set of subjects. Unfortunately, some of those same capabilities mean it can also have negative effects. It turns out that if students have a tool that can answer questions for them, they also have a tool that can answer questions instead of them. You can see how bad this can get in the recent case of William A., who was a student in Tennessee's Clarksville-Montgomery County school system. William had trouble learning to read and was given an educational plan as required by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, which is the governing law in the United States. William's plan included extra times to complete assignments using any tools he found helpful, and armed with those adaptations, he developed a working method which was described in court documents. He would take an assignment from his teacher, put it into text-to-speech so that he could understand what it was. Then he would dictate back the essay, a description of the essay he wanted to write into ChatGPT. He would then cut and paste that output out of ChatGPT and put it in Grammarly to make it seem stylistically appropriate for a high school student. Armed with this, he graduated from high school last year with a B+ average. He was also illiterate, unable to spell his own name. William's parents sued and won, and an administrative judge ruled that William was owed hundreds of hours of tutoring in actual reading and writing. Kind of incredibly, the school system appealed. It didn't claim to have taught William to read. Instead, the school system argued that it had lived up to its end of the educational bargain because William had maintained over a 3.0 grade average, which was his B+, while advancing from grade to grade. But as the judge put it, while affirming the earlier judgment in the case, the point of a free and appropriate education under the IDEA Act is not simply to complete assignments. Treating completed assignments as the point of education is common in conversations about AI, based on a misunderstanding of how education works. If you see that the output of a factory is tires, you can assume that workers making more tires with less effort would be an improvement. But if you see that the output of a history class is writing and assume that students producing more history papers with less effort would be an improvement, you've missed the point of the assignments and the class. Copying your history homework from ChatGPT is like making a pizza with $20 in a phone. Great if your goal is to have a pizza, terrible if your goal is to learn to make one. Students misunderstand their own learning as well. If artificial intelligence helps a student produce a well-written assignment quickly, it can feel like they're learning. How could better output faster not be progress? This feeling is understandable, but misplaced. When a student cuts and pastes answers for their history paper, they are enrolled in a cutting and pasting class, not in a history class. People who view the arrival of generative AI as a revolution say it's going to force us to rethink teaching, and they're absolutely right. Generative AI asks us to be clearer about what we want our students to learn and whether producing content with AI is an adequate substitute for learning it. And recall that the Clarksville-Montgomery County school system recently went to court that the answer to that latter question, whether producing content with AI is an adequate substitute for learning it, that the answer to that question is yes. Learning is a change in long-term memory. That's the biological correlate of what we do in the classroom. Anything a student does not remember, they have not learned. Seeing that AI can offer output without requiring much thinking, which is what these tools are designed to do, many faculty are moving to assessments that put less weight on prepared work and more on spontaneous student responses that require recall and synthesis. These include in-class quizzes, office hour conversations, oral exams, handwritten essays, digital proctoring, tech-free classrooms, anything to make it possible to gauge what a student has learned versus what they've produced. Nobody likes these adaptations. One of my university colleagues characterizes a return to oral exams as the medieval option. Another describes her new reliance on in-class work as teaching high school. These strategies reduce our ability to assign complex work to be completed outside of class. Students don't often like the new forms of assessment either, but AI adoption is widespread, and the tools that allow for the good uses of AI also allow for the bad uses. With the failure of adequate AI detection, no institutions have been able to limit student work to ways compatible with independent learning. ChatGPT is less than 1,000 days old. In that time, it's become possible to see a future where students have a tool that can act as a helpful coach, a sparring partner, a tutor. Whether and how completely we get students to embrace those positive uses is an open question, one that will take years to answer. The negative uses, on the other hand, are here now. William A. was one of the first people, although surely and sadly not the last, who was able to produce written work for years, completely decoupled from any literate experience. His example shows that a teaching regime limited to assessing students only through completed assignments risks enabling profound learning loss. But in a world where a well-written paragraph is no longer proof of human effort or thought, our world, now and presumably from now on, we have to focus more on what's in our students' heads and less on what's in their homework. Thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking with you.